Winning at sports and at sports broadcasting means changing things up.
Just like La Quinta Inns and Suites is changing up their look.
A renovated lobby that's so contemporary it even makes Golic look cool.
Yes, it does. And a totally updated fitness center that even has Wingo feeling like a workout.
I'm ripped. Plus plenty of comfortable spaces to hang out.
Yep, this La Quinta look definitely has a vibe of victory.
So you can just relax, refresh, and get ready for your next big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio, ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. I'm Jason Fitz in for Trey. I have no idea what we just heard.
Well, we get callers that call in and do the open for the show.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know what that laugh was at the end.
That's the part that's sort of disrupt. Yeah. I mean, Mike, you spend all this time, you get the energy together, you put the thought into it. A lot of guys, script that stuff. They get ready for it. That's their one shining moment. The laugh at the end kind of, I don't know, like that's it.
Did that blow it for him?
That's what we get for outsourcing it, though, because this is what we've done. It's sheer laziness on our part. We've opened the phone lines up to the fans and listeners of this show to essentially write that open for us. So we have to deal with what comes with that.
I don't have a problem with that. I like having the input by others. So at least if it sounds bad, we can just say, well, we didn't do it.
I like that you say lazy. I like to think of more of it as it's inclusive, right? We're being all inclusive. We're letting everybody be a part of the Golic and Wingo process,
But lazy fits better.
Well,
fits the narrative a lot better.
It insulates us, too, because if it's bad, first off, then you blame the person who called in. And then if it's really bad, second off, we just blame everyone behind the glass over there and say, well, you shouldn't have cut that.
Boom.
I mean, that was the one we picked. Again, Golic and Wingo, Mike Golic Jr. I'm Jason Fitz in for Trey. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests appear on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. It was a dynamic night last night in sports.
Yes, it was, which we're certainly going to get to. It was also a dynamic morning with Devin, was it not?
Man, a lot happening, because you're right. You come in charged up off last night, and then you forget that, oh, by the way, we've got someone on the show who's probably dealing with a little less energy than usual, and B, some mild trauma after paying off his bet from our March Madness tournament.
We'll touch on this a couple of times, but we'll do it now. Devin Bubble Boy lost the NCAA bet by, you were just horrifically bad.
It got destroyed.
It was horrid. So we were gone. Mike, you and I, we were in Africa when they did this bet. So you had to sleep in my office last night, and you weren't allowed to sleep on the couch, and you slept on the couch, correct?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm willing to let it go because of your honesty. And then you had to put the product in my hair this morning. So anybody watching on ESPN News, when you see my hair this morning, usually Hopi, who does a great job as our makeup artist, she showed Devin how to apply the product into my hair. Fitz was sitting here watching it first. Fitz, out of you?
I mean, let me be honest here. It takes a lot to, I'm usually the one that makes people a little uncomfortable. Right. I like to hug, Mike Jr. too long in the calf, that sort of thing. I was the one
you were
for the first time
uncomfortable?
that I was sitting here and I was like, I can't tell if this is like a weird kind of like a guy that's really not comfortable with cats and he's trying to pet the cat, but he's afraid the cat's gonna
claw him or something?
That's sort of what it felt like. It was very strange.
How did so you applied all the product to my hair this morning?
Listen, I finally believe all the hype. Your hair, it's as good as everyone says it is.
There you go. As advertised, huh?
It really is.
He got in there, too. Not going to lie.
So that's what I wanted to hear. So Devin says your hair good as advertised. If you had to grade Devin, how would you grade his ability?
He started out a little shy about it. I get it. I mean, I don't think he's ever, put product in another person's hair before. And he started out a little, I'm unsure of this. Hope he taught him very, very well. By the end, I mean, he actually was doing it and said, you know what, I need a little more. Here, I got to do this side of it. So he jumped into it, and I was very impressed. Devin, I have to say, I was very impressed.
And now, so between that and then Fitz as the third party watching all this, your vantage point on this, how would you grade Devin's skill and Dad's, I guess, liking of this?
Devin, again, the cautiousness, it's going to cost you a letter grade on it. So, Devin, you were okay.
I understand.
I can't figure out how you aren't the loser in all of this. Basically, what I've heard is that Devin just trashed your couch last night.
Yeah.
And now he awkwardly pet your head for several minutes.
I awkwardly pet my head. I haven't really gone through my office to see what may have been wrong with it, but
at least it was only light petting.
I'm going to check that out. So, Devin, good job.
Thank you.
Have you washed your hands yet?
I did multiple times. It's not
still
working.
there.
Yeah, it's still there.
Going to last a while. Sorry about that.
There's no easy way to do this, so we're just going to do this.
It's time for Off the Top.
Whether you like it or not, it's just beginning.
With Golic and Wingo.
The Timberwolves defeated the Nuggets 112-106 in overtime in the vaunted NBA play-in game. They get the final playoff spot. They eliminate the Nuggets. Nuggets head home.
How great is this, though? The last game of the season it comes down to, and it goes into overtime. So, listen, I'm all for every game counting, and I know, as I've said, in an 82-game season, a 162-game season, you kind of throw away games here and there. The whole issue last year in the NBA about resting at certain times, and they tried to take care of that this year with a few different ways to try and do it. But it still comes down to game 82, and then you go overtime. But good for Minnesota. Longest playoff droughts in NBA history. They were at 13, second most. The Clippers from 76 to 91 at 15 years. So it was the Timberwolves at 13. And how about this for Minnesota sports? For the first time in Minnesota sports history, baseball, hockey, basketball, NFL teams all made the playoffs in the same cycle. So good for that city, good for that sports city there, and good for Minnesota. Even though the A seed, they're going to take on Houston, who's the best team in the West right now, but good for them for getting in.
And you mentioned the quality of the game that we got last night. I saw this tweet from Tom Habistro. All 4 Minnesota-Denver games this season have been tied at some point in the fourth quarter. So This was on brand for the way that this matchup had been all season. And now for a team that I think most people would have said they expected more from, kind of akin to the 76ers in the Eastern Conference. A young team, guys like Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins there, coupled with Jimmy Butler's veteran presence, probably expected a little more from, and maybe got that from like the Utah Jazz, but still found their way into the dance.
I think you make a great comparison to the 76ers. That's a piece of this that's going to continue to happen because we look at the youth and we feel like they're supposed to be on some plane where they rise together. I will say it's a broken system when in some ways you can say, congratulations, you won, which means you now get swept by the Rockets, while the Nuggets at least have a chance at a high draft pick.
Yeah, I get that, but when you're the first out of the playoffs, I know that the percentage goes down a lot, even though they tried to even it out as far as the lowest of the teams, and I think that kind of backfired on them. But I'd like to, Jason, look at the big picture. Look at the younger teams coming along. Minnesota, the Bucks, the Philadelphia, which we're going to talk about, obviously, as well. You want to call him, we're not going to, Anthony Davis is still young. It seems like he's been in the league for 10 years. But imagine if Boogie Cousins didn't get hurt, what they might be doing right now. So we keep talking about Houston and Golden State and Cleveland. Is it going to be Toronto or Boston? But there's a few other teams out there in both conferences that I kind of really like where they're going in the future.
I also think they're great, I call it counter-programming for everybody that hates oh my God, all the dream team, everybody just plays with the mega teams. There are young teams that are building things the right way that you can look at and say, hey, I'm going to latch onto that. It's worth rooting for.
Off the top.
We will now go with our MVP moment of the week, brought to you by Sports Clip. Check in online at sportsclips.com/check-in and claim your spot today. That belongs to Russell Westbrook, who entered Wednesday's season finale against the Grizz, needing 16 boards to become the first player in NBA history to average a triple-double in multiple seasons, and he did it.
I mean, come on. It was this the surest bet there was going to be of all time, that he needed 16 rebounds to get where he needed to go, and he got it, obviously, rather easily. He got his 16th rebound with 9:18 to go in the third quarter. His stat line ended up 6 points, 20 rebounds, 19 assists. Was there any dude? I would boxing out his own guys. I mean, seriously.
Oh, a great highlight of him boxing out Melo last night.
He was absolutely going to get his rebounds and now get that second consecutive season of averaging a triple-double, and nobody seems to care.
No, history is going to be much kinder to Russell Westbrook than the present is on this, because we get so used to turning things over and so jaded pretty quickly when stuff like this happens. That guy got his 6th rebound with 9 minutes left in the third quarter.
Yeah, 16th,
And you know what? I have no problem with him wanting it. People are going to kind of mock that idea that he was going after this and this alone. Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double for the consecutive season, helped improve his team's playoff slotting this year. They were the 6th seed last year. They're the 4th seed this year in the Western Conference. Did something that no one else has ever done. When we look back on this historically, it's going to be much more impressive than we're willing to give it credit for now.
I think part of the problem for the Russell Westbrook triple-double is that there's two pieces of it that have changed the conversation. One is last year when he averages the triple-double, and it's such a historic moment, we spent so much time debating whether or not that makes you an MVP. So we already lessened what that stat means over the course of the last season. And then when you talk about the super teams I just referenced, there were expectations on OKC. And I think that when you see that Oklahoma City hasn't necessarily played as well as people thought, combined with the fact that we've already cheapened what that stat means, it lessens the entire experience of what he's accomplished.
And in my opinion, I wonder if it was harder to get done this year. Because last year he averaged, 30 points, and the next leading scorer on the team was Oladipo, I think, with 15. This year, I think he averaged, 26, and there was Paul George with 21. So he was sharing the ball a little more, and as you mentioned, Mike, they got a higher seed as well. So I wonder if it was actually more difficult this year, and basically nobody's paying attention to it at all.
Up the degree of difficulty in almost every way. Ho-hum. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Is there anything that reasonably changes that, though? I mean, no. I mean, this is now the new standard he's set. So it's what we're going to just expect from him.
And again, in 20 years, when we're looking back on the next guy that gets close to this, we'll say, man, you remember when Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double in back-to-back seasons.
Mm-hmm. Off the top.
You mentioned Philadelphia. We do have to mention it. The 76ers blew out the Bucks, and I mean destroyed and demoralized Milwaukee. 130-95 for their 16th straight win. That's the longest win streak to end the regular season in NBA history.
Understand, a month ago, the 76ers were a game and a half ahead of the final playoff spot. And I would say they've changed that a little bit with where they are sitting at the 3 seed right now. I'm going to take on Miami. We'll get more into the playoffs. But how about Markelle Fultz? Gets a triple-double, the youngest player to record a triple-double in NBA history. This is a guy that we wondered was a bust if he was a draft pick. Couldn't get on the court, played early, then missed a ton of the season with the shoulder. We saw videos of that shot. It looked horrific. He comes back, and he's making more layups. The second game back, he breaks Joel Embiid's eye socket. He has to get surgery. You got to thinking, oh, my God, 19 years, 317 days old. He is the youngest to record a triple-double.
What a confidence booster. Yeah. And if you're Philadelphia going into the playoff run, that's exactly what you need in lieu of Joel Embiid being healthy right now, is the rest of your guys to be confident to the point of almost blind confidence, because we've heard it talked about, the Philadelphia 76ers, the people that take them seriously and the people that don't. And the people that don't, and Amin El Hassan, I know, was on with you and Sarah on Spain and Fitz and said they've got no playoff experience with their star players right now. One of those things, being young and dumb to the point where you don't know what you don't know, is basically the only thing the Sixers can hope to get by on right now.
It is alarming, though. I mean, we were sitting there watching the game last night, and you looked over and thought, man, is that score is that a misprint? Is that correct? I mean, they absolutely destroyed Milwaukee on a night where Ben Simmons only played 22 minutes. Yeah. I mean, you have to start, at some point we have to start looking at this and saying, no matter who they played in this 16-game win streak, a lot of people want to trash the quality of opponent. I understand that. But they've beaten everybody. The margin of victory going into last night, I think, was 13 points per game. Going into that, during this win streak, they're destroying teams, whether they're good or not.
Let's see how much we all buy in when we do our picks for the NBA playoffs, and just see how far we have them going.
We're doing that a different day, right? So I can get out of that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Off the top.
Speaking of playoffs, the NHL playoffs started last night. The Penguins were 7-1 favorites to win the Stanley Cup before the season. The best odds in the NHL, according to Westgate Las Vegas Superbook. They opened last night with a 7-0 thrashing of the Flyers.
Yeah, ridiculous. 7-zip. They have played, they were 5-0 against the Flyers this year, and they scored 27 goals on the way to do it. Sidney Crosby with the hat trick gets that backhanded out of the air, baseball bats it in, was an incredible goal. So congrats to them. Congrats to Winnipeg. The Jets beat the Wild 3-2. It was their first playoff win in franchise history. They were 0-8. Since the franchise began as the Atlanta Thrashers back in 99, and the Golden Knights just keep doing it out in Vegas. A 1-0 win over the Kings. They score in the first period, and the goalies are both really playing well. I thought it was going to be a higher scoring game than this, but the Golden Knights 1-0 in the playoffs.
Yeah, now. It took them a lot shorter time period to get their first playoff win. They just figured they'll get all the firsts out of the way in one season. And it was cool. We were watching the game last night to see that city. You talked about this, fourth in attendance during the regular season, but embracing the moment. You've got the pregame concert going on outside the arena venue, really trying to get people away. I know Fitz is mad because he feels like they're trying to bite Nashville swag.
No, like it. Hey, that's that flattery here. Like, go ahead, take everything you love about the Nashville Predators and just integrate it. I'm from Vegas, so I like to see my current home and my original home, loving it in some symbiotic relationship there. A 1-0 win, by the way, the first shutout for an NHL team in their first playoff game since 1968. So the Vegas, at some point we have to stop saying the Golden Knights are an expansion team. Yeah. Just accept the fact that no matter who plays in goal for them this year, they've won and they continue to look good. So give them a little credit. Also, cool emotional moment last night. Ryan Shazier at the Penguins game. He was there. He stood up and led the crowd in a "Let's Go Pens" chant.
What a story that is. Yeah, see where that one goes too.
Oh, I mean, to see the embrace of that player in a city that we know loves their sports teams, loves the Pens especially, but to see maybe their favorite Steeler right now and a guy in that moment, chills.
Yeah, very cool.
That is Off the Top. We managed to make it through the whole Off the Top and not even talk about the most dramatic thing that happened last night, which is obviously a WWE match disguised as a baseball game, as the Red Sox and Yankees sort of got everything rolling again in dramatic fashion. We're sitting there in a bar, we're watching everything, and watching the Yankees Red Sox is always exciting. But then it took an extra step as they decided they were all going to brawl.
Yeah, it did. Third inning, what was it? Tyler Wade laid down a bunt, and Tyler Austin took off for second, and Brock Holt was the shortstop that was covering second base. Tyler Austin slid in. He was going to be out, but he was trying to break up the double play. He slid in late, and the cleats were up. And all of a sudden, Holt took an exception to it. That first one was really nothing. That was kind of an address exchange for Christmas cards. Everybody ran out there, but nothing really went on. We'll get into what happened a little later in the seventh inning. But they went to the review for the umpires, seeing if it was an illegal slide. It was going to be, and they were going to give the Red Sox a double play. And it wasn't. It wasn't considered an illegal slide. And I have to say, Mike, they were correct. I have the rule here about the slide rule. It says the slide rule prohibits runners from using a roadblock, which he didn't do, or attempting to initiate contact with the fielder by elevating and kicking his leg above the fielder's knee. So while you start to read it, initiating contact with the fielder by elevating and kicking his leg, you kind of think, okay, we're going down the road where it's going to be illegal. But that saved Austin above the fielder's knee. He didn't hit him in the knee. He hit him in like the calf, ankle area.
Catfish.
Catfish. So no call, legal slide according to the umpires, and we move on until Austin gets hit in the seventh.
Because he had every other box checked on that one. Spikes were up. He was ready ready to go. You saw that, and I mean, this is one of those where you talk about spirit of the rule all the time, because this is designed to prevent injury and prevent things like that. And this is still an area where, now some will argue Brock Holt could have done more to protect himself in this instance, but this is still an area where you could have seen a very bad injury in this spot. And you're right, it did sort of light the powder keg that exploded later on.
Yeah, it lit the powder keg, and then this is what it sounded like later.
How'd it hit him? Austin slammed his bat on the ground, now heads toward the mound, and he's ready to swing. He and Kelly go down on the ground, both benches empty. We have a brawl in Boston, and the brawl is going on. Austin had slid hard into Holt, and so Kelly hit him with a pitch, and Austin charged the mound.
Look, there's payback and there's payback. You don't hit a batter there throwing 98 miles an hour. You just don't do that. That's his life, never mind his career. That's his life. Are you kidding me?
That's the Yankees radio network on the call as he gets hit with the pitch, and he just went for it right there.
Listen, Waldman really...
That's his life.
I mean, I guess I would say that more if the ball went at his head. It didn't go at his head. I mean, that's normally where you get a butt shot. You hit some guy in the butt or the ribs or something like that. Probably not the ribs, really. Caught him in the back of the elbow, though.
Yeah, I looked more like, to me, like the back of an arm, like a lat. I didn't realize he was Achilles. Like, I didn't realiise your life now resides near the kidney.
That might have been again, if it was at his head and he had to duck out of the way, that was a little much.
Yeah, it initiated a straight all-out bench-clearing WWE style Royal Rumble. And that's all. I keep saying Royal Rumble because if you're me and you're 40, you remember the Royal Rumbles when I was a kid when Andre the Giant was there and was just taller than everybody else, and he just stood there where everybody fought around him, and he just stood there and looked around and was like, who's going to bring it, right? That's what it felt like last night as we found out that another superpower of this Yankees team is that they have two massive gentlemen that just stand above everybody.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. When the second fight got going, like I said, the first one was just, hey, how you doing, and then the whole deal. The second one got going a little bit, and when you get Stanton and Judge jumping in the middle of that, it's like, okay, I'm going to kind of rethink if this thing really gets active right now, what I want to do.
Their goons got goons. Like, if you don't want Judge, they can just roll Stanton out there and be like, I'm tired today. I said, we said last night, floated this idea, we should almost do it like the movie Troy, where each side just picks one champion and you just send him out there. They're the only team that's got a backup champion that's just as good as the other guy. Like, okay, you don't want him, we've got Gigantor here too.
Yeah, this is what Brock Holt said afterwards about the brawl.
As soon as you see Judge or Stanton come in there, I think they were one of the first two in the first scuffle, and I'll start backing up at that point. So, no, it's fun. We're playing hard. They're playing hard, and it's just part of it.
It kind of reminds me of that. Like I come running at you, Mike, and I'm like, you know what? Let's talk about it.
But I like Joe Kelly. I think you have Joe Kelly, right? The pitcher. So he hits Austin. Austin slams the bat down and goes at him, and Joe Kelly's like, okay, I'm not having any of that.
Yeah, you guys have that? So this is what he had to say.
Yeah, someone comes into my property and in my backyard, I have two dogs and ready to, come to my property and, I'm getting attacked and I'm going to have to defend myself.
Which automatically makes us think of,
if you want to throw down in fisticuffs, fine. I've got Jack Johnson and Tom O'Leary waiting for you right here.
That's just awesome. His two dogs. I mean, I heard you talk about this morning. His actual dogs, he was naming his fists. His two dogs are his fists. So that's an Anchorman reference right there.
He gets props for that, but as far as actually being ready to go, no. Joe Kelly is Brock Holt without options. Joe Kelly backing away and just hoping to God that Tyler Austin was going to fall on his own face.
Tyler Austin leaned. He leaned like an old lineman dipping his head.
He leaned, and you know what? I would say Joe Kelly did. He backed off and tried to make sure that he didn't get more than a glancing blow in all this. So I'm not buying the tough talk out of Joe Kelly. Brock Holt is the only one out here telling truth. Joe Kelly just didn't have options.
Wait. I'm just going to stand up for the little guy for a second. You two will never know what it's like to be the little guy at the bar that runs your mouth and then it maybe gets a little bit too far. Right. I've been that guy. So there's strategery in how you sort of back up from that and you get your way out of that, but still talk.
Can you get me Will Ferrell one more time?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
If you want to throw down in fisticuffs, fine. I've got Jack Johnson and Tom O'Leary waiting for you right here.
Winning at sports and at sports broadcasting means changing things up.
Just like La Quinta Inns and Suites is changing up their look.
A renovated lobby that's so contemporary it even makes Golic look cool.
Yes, it does. And a totally updated fitness center that even has Wingo feeling like a workout.
I'm ripped. Plus plenty of comfortable spaces to hang out.
Yep, this La Quinta look definitely has a vibe of victory.
So you can just relax, refresh, and get ready for your next big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Hey, Golic and Wingo. My name's Ash. I'm in Texas. Flyers plain sucked. Crosby proved why he's the best of his generation. Flyers, they just looked overmatched and outclassed. I'll call you back after the Winnipeg game.
Wow.
That's passion right there. He's getting us the commentary each time. I love that. It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. I'm Jason Fitz in for Trey. Mike Golic Jr. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. We should also mention, by the way, we already have, it took basically no time, and we have our first head coach firing in the NBA. We do. Yeah. So Hornacek is out in New York, which I think most of us expected. That shoe has already dropped. So they wasted no time in getting ahead and at least trying to figure out what's going to happen.
I think this could be the easiest hiring. I mean, you almost got to believe it's got to be Mark Jackson, right? I mean,
yeah, I don't know how you go anywhere else at this point. The guy who essentially set up all the building blocks for this Golden State Warriors team just to watch Steve Kerr come in and take them over the mountaintop a year later.
You know, Mark Jackson has some of the ties to New York as well. Jeff Van Gundy's name out there. We know he used to coach the Knicks. David Blatt's name out there. I would be stunned to see that happen.
Especially after Stephen A's rant yesterday.
You and Stephen A. giving him credit for the firing.
Stephen A. openly went out there and said, if Jeff Hornacek or David Blatt are coaching this team next year, look what happens. And, well, look what happened.
Oh, you stop it. And David Fisdale's name has been out there as well. What a very popular coach with the players, no doubt about it. You know he's going to work again in the NBA, but I think this would lean to Mark Jackson.
Well, the other piece of Mark Jackson is that because he's a legacy with so many ties, I think the one thing he buys is a little bit of patience from the fan base. I do think we undervalue sometimes that you have to appreciate that, hey, ownership is looking at it saying what appeases the masses, kind of gets the job done, and also makes everybody feel like things are on the right track. I think in that sense, it buys him time until Porzingis is healthy.
Well, that obviously the huge thing there. And can they get free agents to go to New York? I think that's going to be the biggest struggle. And I heard you talking about it this morning. The guy that the Knicks fans probably want out the most is unfortunately the guy that can take his ball and go wherever he wants it, the owner, James Dolan.
Yeah, unfortunately, you can't really carve Jimmy out of this situation. But when you look at the rest of it now, you've really removed the last little bit of what was left over from that Phil Jackson, Carmelo Anthony ugliness that existed for the few years there, that standoff around the no-trade clause. With Hornacek gone, you've really got a fresh start now. And when you get a healthy Kristaps back, you've got Ntilikina and the young players on this team that you want to try and build around now. You just need the right man.
Hit the reset button and see what happens. I still, the talent-wise, I think they're obviously still lacking, but, you know, at least they're going to get that fresh start.
But I do think to that same conversation, Mark Jackson is comfortable with what New York is and comfortable with Dolan is. He's comfortable with all those pieces. Somebody like Fizdale is going to have a lot of options. Does he really want to put himself into that pressure cooker right out of the gate and deal with all that comes with New York when he may have an opportunity to go somewhere where he's going to have more time, more patience, and an ownership group that feels like it's a little more stable?
And sad to say, Knick fans, that the last remnants now has gone the triangle offense. No more.
Man,
no more, no remnants of it or anything. We're moving on.
No more triangle camps in the summers, getting ready for the season.
Well, I know. From guys that are way out of the playoffs and to guys that are actually still playing for something, the NBA playoff matchups are set, and it's a sort of an interesting piece because Will Cain said yesterday on the Will Cain Show, and you can hear on ESPN Radio, that this year there might be no pressure on LeBron, and that this might be the easiest year for LeBron in that sense because nobody expects anything from LeBron or the Cavs. I totally disagree with that. I think that when you look at the East particularly, and you look at the fact that nobody ever believes in Toronto, you look at the fact that the Celtics are decimated by injury, I think that there is a full expectation from smart basketball minds that the East still belongs to LeBron, and that's the same for the fans. So I don't think that there's any less pressure. In fact, I think that teams like Philly and Boston put more pressure on LeBron, because if he loses to a decimated Celtics team, that's a bad look. If he empowers the young guns of the 76ers, that's a bad look. I think that there's a lot of pressure on Cleveland and LeBron specifically.
I don't think relative to the rest of the guys that we're seeing in this playoff run, especially after yesterday when Mike D'Antoni, in an effort to take some of the pressure off his players, actually reminded us all going into this postseason run, oh yeah, none of these guys have really had the success here to line up and stack up with the rest of the greats around here. You've got a Golden State team who's got to answer questions about their own mortality. Kevin Durant, who has to go out there and prove that he can lead in a team in a way. We've seen LeBron do all this. We've seen him do it time and time again. It's all an upside play for him right now, and it sets up for LeBron to do what only he can do, which is be the most interesting player with the most upside both in the postseason and once we hit the offseason.
Which makes it interesting if you look at ESPN.com, the BPI favorite for our nerds that look into this stuff. It's not shocking by seed, but it's shocking by name. In the East and the West, the first starter in the West, the team with the least percentage of all the others of winning, of the favorites, is the 4 seed Oklahoma City Thunder at 53%. The Rockets 88%, the Blazers 63%, the Warriors 76%. So in the East, same thing with the seed. It makes sense being the 4 seed, but that 4 seed is the Cavaliers. They have the least percentage chance of winning according to our BPI than the others. Raptors 88%, 76ers 78%, Celtics 78%, Cavs 62%. But I don't see them struggling here. I know everybody's wondering, can they keep doing what they've done in the past? When the playoffs hit, can they do it with the people that they have? You have LeBron. You have LeBron and all the other teams don't. I know everybody's, pretty pet right now is the 76ers. That's a team coming out of the East. Toronto, they can't get over this hump, especially the Cleveland hump. And, oh, by the way, that's who you're meeting in the second round now is going to be, if all the seeds hold, you're meeting the Cleveland Cavaliers. So big brother, little brother, everybody's looking at the 76ers saying, wow, this is a team that we're not ready for this just yet to think they're going to take over these, but they're ready to do it. I don't know if I'm buying that.
We'll, by the way, talk to Brett Brown, head coach of the 76ers, at 8:30 on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. So we'll get his thoughts on how the playoff matchup looks. And there's a lot of conversation about experience and what it means. But when you talk about expectations specifically, I want to go back, Junior, you just mentioned, Golden State in the West. I mean, ultimately, with the injuries that we've seen and with as good as the Rockets have been, I'd make the argument that we're sort of already accepting as a general NBA culture that this might not be the year for the Warriors. So it feels like the Warriors are actually playing with less pressure than I expected right now. Going into the season, I thought there'd be a ton on them against the Rockets, but as injured as they've been, I think we're already conceding that battle.
There might be less pressure on the Warriors, but if you're looking at individuals, there is a ton of pressure on Kevin Durant, on a guy who is asked to do what LeBron James has made look easy for so long, because a lot of people after last year's final were ready to give Kevin Durant that title. They wanted to say, that's the top dog. Heard plenty of people throw that out there. What we usually ask of those guys, make everyone around you better, whether it's the star quarterback in the NFL or a guy in the NBA. We ask you to make everyone around you better, and that's what LeBron James has been able to do, right, wrong, or indifferent. I know you feel some type of way about how he went about getting there this season, getting to the point where he got the team around him that he wanted. But visually, all it looks like is LeBron has made everything work for the most part, and if it hasn't worked, we haven't looked at it as his fault necessarily. And if he can carry that over to the offseason, you have the skeleton key in the NBA. You have the only guy you can plug and play because of his skill set that makes instant title contenders. So I look at this and put him still far down the list of guys who have pressure on him this postseason.
I do think you're right. Durant might have the most pressure of anybody when you look individually, because if there's no Steph Curry for any length of time, and Durant can't get the job done, it only fuels whatever that fire is that Kevin Durant.
Oh, listen, everybody was ready to say Kevin Durant has taken over the league. As last year they were saying that. Nobody's saying that this year with the way LeBron's playing, that Kevin Durant, he's overtaken LeBron. He's going to be the best player in the league. So yeah, to fall. Now they're playing the Spurs, who have been ungodly consistent over the years thanks to Popovich and what he's done as a coach. But still no Kawhi Leonard, or they obviously haven't had him, and still find them in the 7th slot here. So I don't think the Warriors lose this series. And then if they win this series, Steph's supposed to be back. So I guess my thought is they're going to be whole by the second round. I fully expect them to get to the second round. They're going to be whole by the second round. So as long as there's no re-injury, which we saw a couple of years ago with Steph Curry, I don't know why they won't be still the favorite until they get beat.
You just wait, though. On the Eastern side, you get to the second round, all of a sudden Embiid's back. 76ers are whole. I'm going to keep making that case.
How far are you willing to take them, Fitzy, huh?
Lucky I'm not here on the day we make the NBA playoff picks. Brett Brown again going to join us at 8:30, so we'll get his thoughts on it.
Here's a little insider travel secret. There are tons of empty hotel rooms out there just waiting to be booked. That's why there's Hotel Tonight. Hotel Tonight partners with awesome hotels to help them fill their unsold rooms, which means you get incredible deals. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you can actually book up to a week in advance and up to 100 days in advance in top destinations. So download the Hotel Tonight app to start scoring better deals at better hotels now.
It's Golic and Wingo. I'm Jason Fitz in for Trey, sitting next to both of the Golics. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests appear on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And yesterday we got breaking news, Mike, on Odell Beckham Jr. As we get, it's like a daily ritual now. We get an update on what's happening with Odell Beckham Jr. We will be joined later by Shefty. Adam Schefter will join us at 8:00. We'll get his thoughts on the most recent. But it now appears, according to Shefty's report, that the Giants are not. Teams feel like the Giants are not actively trying to trade Odell Beckham Jr.
I never thought he was going to get traded in the first place. I understand with Mara coming out and saying he's a little tired of dealing with Odell and what he's gone through, and then he's not on the trade block, but all of a sudden there was a price tag for him of 2 first-round picks, and the Rams basically picking up everybody in the offseason, but as soon as they got Brandon Cooks, it was like, okay, well, they're not going to get Odell. Odell shows up. Again, offseason starts a little bit earlier for teams that got a new head coach, so that's Shermer and the Giants, so the team has gotten together there. Odell showed up to that, so it seems like he's going to be there, whether they work out the long-term deal, which I think they will. He's going to get his 18 or 19 mil a year. But, Mike, I never thought he was going to get traded in the first place. I know it kind of went down that road of the thought and the possibility, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, you just don't give up talent like that.
No, and I think more than anything, this showed you what the true market for Odell's services was and who was willing to or able to come up to that price. And it really seemed to begin and end with the Rams. All of this talk seemed to die down as soon as Brandon Cooks went out to L.A. because who else was really equipped to give up and would be willing to? We know everyone started talking about, well, the Patriots have 2 first-round picks now, but that's not how they get down, especially not for a wideout, understanding the way that they tend to operate.
An agent buddy of mine years ago told me whenever a rumor comes out, try and figure out who it benefits, and then you can figure out who probably leaked it. I look back at this entire Odell Beckham Jr. stat and think about the process we've gone through, right? Everything was about driving up value to try and get more out of the Rams. This feels like something that the Giants floated out there so that they could get more value in an attempt to trade him with the Rams. At some point, we have to acknowledge that Odell Beckham Jr. has not come out and said he's not going to play for New York. He's not come out and said anything that gives us some indication that he's not going to do his job, whatever his job might be.
I think Odell wants his money. I don't know if I think he likes New York because it's New York, but at the end of the day, who signs his check? I don't think he cares. In all honesty.
And we've seen this trend with a lot of the top wide receivers.
And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm not saying that in a negative way at all.
No, but these guys and we're seeing it right now with these young players. Khalil Mack getting ready to probably hold out. We saw Aaron Donald
Don't you bite
this.
your tongue, sir. Khalil Mack's not going to hang out. Hold on. He's going to be there on time. It just takes a little time to nuance a deal.
You know what? Flights probably got mixed up for that first day. I'm sure he's efforting a ticket right out to Oakland to get ready to go for this. But we saw Aaron Donald do it last year. These guys understand that fifth-year option, you talk about who things benefit. Those fifth-year options for the first-round players are a huge weapon in the arsenal of these teams to be able to cost control some of their best players. And these guys realize it, especially guys whose production has so far outpaced their price tag so early. I mean, Odell Beckham, we saw the way this team crumbled without him last year. We heard John Maris say, well, this team was 3-13. We got to look at everyone. Odell played 4 games. He caught 3 touchdowns, and he was second on your team in receiving touchdowns last year. How was he going to be the big problem you're truly looking at in this team?
Completely agree. And anybody who holds out in these OTAs, it's no worry at all. It means absolutely nothing right now. So it just means the battle maybe that's going to come forth in a little bit. Just quickly, the numbers on Odell. We want to get to our movie review. Last year he made $1.8 million. This year he'll be on his 5th-year option. If he plays for that, it's $8.5 million. As opposed to if he signs a long-term deal, he's probably looking in the area of $60 million guaranteed. So that's where we are with the money for Odell. And I think I think he should. I mean, if you're talking about market value, it's a guy that should get his money, barring anything unforeseen off the field that may get him in trouble, which we haven't seen at this point.
He's going to get his money from somewhere. Yeah. That's Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest, most dependable 4G LTE network. So yesterday, I became an honorary Golic. You did. We went to the movies together. We sat awkwardly close to Mom and Dad.
Me and the wife took the 2 kids to the movie, and my 2 other kids are gone. So, Fitz, you were the kid.
Yeah, I was one of the kids. And you know what? I made sure when we picked our seats, because, that theater, you get to picked them right next to you guys, so you'd have absolutely no privacy. And then I learned something as we went to see Blockers. Mike Golic Jr. laughs like a big, hearty man.
He does.
And I laughed like a small hyena.
Yeah, you do.
So the 2 of us laughing at the same time was really a weird...
Yeah, that was a cacophony of sorts in the theater there. I was more disturbed that you kept trying to lift up the armrest in between us and come over and get underneath my arm. That was sort of weird.
There you go.
Yeah,
boy, oh boy, I thought we were going to review the movie, not what actually happened in the theater. You ruined, the fact for my wife and I to have any kind of make-out session because you guys sat right next to us. But the movie itself, Blockers, we all liked. Very funny movie. Leslie Mann is funny. John Cena. You got the 2 former wrestlers out there, with The Rock not being in the ring for a while. But The Rock with his movie Rampage out and Cena with Blockers out. Very funny. Definitely nothing we can talk about because we don't want to ruin it. But also, it was rated R, so there's not many things we can repeat.
Yeah, I thought it was fantastic. It made me laugh, which is not the easiest thing to do, contrary to popular belief. So I was a big fan.
I don't believe that.
More funny than good, right? I mean, predictable in every way.
It is not a good movie by most metrics, but it is one that gives you more than enough laughs. John Cena's got it, man. He's got the juice. If he's willing to be that guy, that's the Rock and Channing Tatum's baby.
Donuts. 5 donuts at the top is the best. I have 4 donuts here. How many donuts you give it, Mike?
I would give it 3.
How many would you give it?
I give 4.
You give it 4?
4 donuts.
All right, that means we'll go. Someone keep talking.
All right, he's going.
By the way, it's like
review above
it's like
the
an
ESPN
action
radio
movie.
sign.
You know it's not going to.
Oh, wow. All right. Oh, okay. He's going to split the difference here.
Okay.
That's a team player. Crumbs everywhere.
That's.
Yeah.
Are you going to eat the other half of that? Coming up, what will the fallout be for Yankees Red Sox? Buster Olney joins us. Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
That's good.
I'm a one-trick pony, literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter. When Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la. Aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot.
Winning at sports and at sports broadcasting means changing things up.
Just like La Quinta Inns and Suites is changing up their look.
A renovated lobby that's so contemporary it even makes Golic look cool.
Yes, it does. And a totally updated fitness center that even has Wingo feeling like a workout.
I'm ripped. Plus plenty of comfortable spaces to hang out.
Yep, this La Quinta look definitely has a vibe of victory.
So you can just relax, refresh, and get ready for your next big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
The internet's going to ruin you.
Well, again, I grew up a fat kid that played the violin. There's nothing the internet can say to me that 6th grade girls didn't. So, It's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. I'm Jason Fitz in for Trey, sitting next to both of the Golics.
What did you think of hanging out with us last night at the movie theater?
You know what? It was a good time. I'm getting somebody tweeted a little GIF, not GIF for all of you incorrect people. Somebody tweeted me a GIF of
Wait,
Hakuna
you really
Matata.
calling it a GIF?
So the guy that this is my 30-second rant. Okay,
I mean,
the guy that invented the technology, the guy that came up with the entire thing, had to give an acceptance speech when he won a technology award, and you can only use 5 words in your speech. That's one of the award word rules. He stood up. His 5-word speech was, it is pronounced, he was 4 words. It is pronounced GIF. So the guy that invented the technology told us all it's pronounced GIF. Doesn't matter what we think. He invented it. So if my mom names me Jason, but then tells everybody it's pronounced Yason, while none of us may like that, that's the rule. He made up the technology.
You're being challenged by Brett, our researcher, who loves to be on the show and looks into things like this. Brett, right or wrong?
Wrong.
100% right.
The guy can say whatever he wants. It's graphics interchange format.
Again.
Graphics, not graphics.
Did you invent it? Did you invent it?
But it doesn't matter.
You invent it, you name it.
In what world did we start assigning the J sound to G's?
In the world where, again, if my mom named me Jason, Jason, which she did, and then told everybody it was pronounced Yason, would we like that? No, but you would have to honor that because my mom named me. He is the mom or the dad of GIF. He named it.
I see both sides of this. I do, but I didn't know it. What does it stand for again?
Graphics interchange format.
Graphics interchange format. Then I agree. I'm going with GIF. I'm going with
and you know
GIF.
what? He's acknowledged too. He come out and said when he's got more than 5 words for some dumb arbitrary reason that you can pronounce it both ways in his world because he understands he comes at this from the wrong side and he realized, how do I hedge my bet as the creator? I say, you know what? You can do both because I'm the czar of GIFs.
Okay, Mike Golic Jr., whatever you say. I mean, I'm just going to... That was not easy to do off the top of my head.
Wow.
Come on. Oh, speaking of off the top, let's catch you up on some of the things that are trending.
Speaking of off the top, let's do what's trending.
Well, close enough. Don't call me out on that. Come on, I'm a sub. The Knicks have fired Jeff Hornacek. Knicks president Steve Mills and GM Scott Perry informed him of his firing upon the team's return to suburban New York following a flight back from Cleveland, where the Knicks actually beat the Cavaliers 110-98.
Yeah, so, I mean, I don't think this was a shock to anybody, and I don't think it will be a shock to anybody else if Mark Jackson is the guy that gets hired. I know Jeff Van Gundy's name getting thrown around. David Blatt, who's coaching in Turkey now. David Fizdale, those are some of the names out there, but I would be hard-pressed to think that Mark Jackson isn't going to get a long, hard look at this one and asked to come in and really reboot this team. That's where we are. You got the young Kristaps Porzingis coming off the injury. I still don't think they're going to be able to get any of those big-time free agents to come their way, but that doesn't mean you still can't build a team by trade and by draft. to try and improve it, but they are hitting that reset button.
You know, put the names Blatt and Mark Jackson side by side kind of remind me of something, because Mark Jackson, we all assumed, would always end up back in the league. He's a good, well-liked coach, was there and helped put together and help groom this Warriors squad before Steve Kerr took over. If David Blatt never finds himself back in the league by some turn of events, how confused is that guy going to be? I went and took a team to the finals, lost because basically everyone was hurt but LeBron, had us as the 1 seed the following year, and then got fired and I'm still out of the league.
Yeah.
My God.
An interesting point to me on this, as you mentioned, trying to turn the franchise around, is that there are only 5 NBA franchises that have never won NBA Executive of the Year. They've never had the GM of the Year. The Knicks are one of those 5. So you have to look at you have to look at it at some point and say, no matter who they put in as coach, they've got to find a way to get the right players in.
Oh yeah.
Which, to think that they are one of the stellar franchises of an NBA history, right? And they've never had the Executive of the Year. It's a little surprising to me.
Let me throw this one out there just as an aside, because you brought him up. Do you think David Blatt will coach in the NBA again?
I doubt it.
Yeah.
Not at this point.
I'm going to say no as well.
Now we've got names like Mark Jackson and Fizdale that are sort of buffers in the interim that people would always want more.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. Are the Knicks even the most appealing job? I mean, the Milwaukee Bucks job may be open. And the Milwaukee Bucks job is going to be open.
It's going to be open,
and
right?
Giannis Antetokounmpo is certainly a piece. And while Kristaps is also, he's not healthy. We don't know what we have. You know what you have with Antetokounmpo. I mean,
that's very true. That's very true. And now it's a matter of if a guy like Mark Jackson, I'm sure multiple teams would want to hire that guy. That'd be an interesting question where the Knicks would fall on that list.
Yeah, because I think Mark Jackson has so much love for the Knicks that there's one team for him.
Right.
And that's part of why it's perfect. Again, I'll go back to David Fizdale, somebody that had some success in Memphis. Everybody seems to love him.
Love the guy.
He has some options. That's all I'm saying. The Knicks are going to make the switch. Make the switch. Brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics, taking motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Also trending, Russell Westbrook seals a second straight triple-double season, grabbed 16 boards in essentially like 3 seconds, and got himself to the second straight year.
3 minutes into the third quarter, he hit 16 rebounds. That was a magic number he needed to get to his triple-double average for the second straight season. He ended up with 20 rebounds and 19 assists in a game where if you wanted to bet about anything that was a sure thing, that you tell Russell Westbrook in this one game you need 16 rebounds, average a triple-double for the year, he was getting 16 rebounds. And he gets the triple-double, and it's like you're shouting it in a forest with nobody there.
It's going to be amazing. I truly think history is going to remember this guy for a lot more than we will in the present, because we're so championship obsessed right now that we won't have time to appreciate this stat line. But how prophetic. You heard Russ before the game talking about he hears all the people chirping at him about how much he wants this and how he's going out of his way to do it. And he said, it's not my fault. I work hard for this stuff, that I care about it, that I get to the ball faster than some people, but I hear the jokes about me boxing out my teammates. And then he goes out, and there's a great highlight of him boxing out.
Yes, he does. Yeah, yes.
Oh, one step at a time. That gets you caught up on what's trending. But obviously one of the biggest stories from last night is the WWE match that took place between the Red Sox and Yankees. So to help us break it all down, Buster Olney, ESPN MLB insider, joins us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Don't forget, you can hear the Baseball Tonight podcast with Buster weekdays. Listen on the ESPN app and Apple Podcast. Buster, thanks for the time this morning, man. First and foremost, was it a dirty slide to you that started this entire process?
I wouldn't call it dirty. I think, though, within the reframed norms of baseball, you don't see runners going to second base with their spikes up. And we also, I think, have to keep in mind that the guy that he clipped, Brock Holt, is a veteran player for the Red Sox who's had a lot of injury issues the last couple of years, had a concussion issue. He's missed a lot of time. He's very well liked and respected in that clubhouse. So when I saw that, I was like, oh, here it comes. Somebody's going to – you knew that Tyler Austin or somebody would wear it because the Red Sox were going to, within the baseball code, answer back.
And Tyler Austin did wear it in the seventh inning. And Joe Kelly got him in the back of the arm or in the rib, right in that area there. And there was a tweet from Pedro Martinez. The only issue he had was he said he would hit Austin a little earlier than that, which sounds like a Pedro quote. So I get, everybody said kind of what they said after the game. Going forward, does this thing, because we know baseball and we know a lot of things rarely end, did this end last night, or will we see more reciprocation going forward?
Yeah, to your point, Aaron Boone, our former colleague, manager of the Yankees, said after the game that he thinks that it probably ends, but Christian Vasquez, the catcher for the Red Sox, he doesn't think it's going to end. I don't think it's going to end. I think that, all it takes is one player, and the Yankee player saw how upset that Tyler Austin was when he got hurt, and that's what it comes down to. I mean, if you have a player in your clubhouse who thinks that he has grievances that need to be addressed, and other players will step up and do those, and they've got 17 more games left this year. And by the way, I thought, Golic, that you would appreciate, both the Golics would greatly appreciate what happened last night. David Cohn, I think, had one of the great lines, the Yankees broadcaster. When Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton hit that pile, they moved it over the Red Sox dugout. By the end of the fight, when those guys, at 6'6", 6'7", hit it, the whole fight shifted. And I was joked with some of the Yankees in spring training when you look at Dellin Betances at 6'8", and CC Sabathia and Judge and Stanton. It really is like a football team. And if you're going to get in a fight, that's probably not your team of first choice.
So here you go, Buster. This is at Golic and Wingo. We've asked the question. Now you can answer it. Stanton and Judge are charging at you. What's the first thing that pops into your head?
Run.
It's about the only answer there is, Buster. It's better to be honest like Brock Holt than to try and go out there and be a tough guy. So I'm with you on that one.
Especially at 5'7.5". Okay, let's be fair. Let's be honest about this.
Hey, I'm 5'9.5", Buster. I'm a little offended. I didn't get looped in with the big guy conversation
compared to me.
Buster, we'll give you 5'8" in the media guide.
Thank you.
Talking to Buster Olney on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Buster, as far as what we've seen on field in the last couple of games with this rivalry, the big story coming in was Judge, but certainly Stanton more than anything in the struggles. What did you see over the course of these last couple of games as we see him notch some hits that might give Yankees fans hope for him right now?
Yeah, he's fine. I really think so. We talked on Monday about the long history of star players joining the Yankees and struggling at the outset, from Reggie Jackson to Jason Giambi to Alex Rodriguez. It's almost a rite of passage. It'll almost be a shock if he didn't struggle, because they're dealing with the scrutiny. They're dealing with all the pressure. They know how all the eyes are on them. And the fact that he was struggling most against fastballs tells you, you know what, it's only a matter of time where he's going to fix this. If he was flailing at sliders in the dirt, then you would say that perhaps he has a mechanical issue. But I do think, as Aaron said, it was a timing issue, and he's settling that. I think the bigger concern is the bullpen, which is something that they're going to have to get right here soon.
Buster Olney joining us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. From struggling to not struggling, Shohei obviously crushing it. How sustainable is what he's doing?
It's hard to say that it's sustainable necessarily, because literally week to week is how the Angels are putting together his schedule, because they want to first off, they were absolutely committed when he called to let them know that he was picking them as his team. They committed to trying to make this work as a two-way player, but part of that is that every week they're essentially making assessments. Okay, how are you feeling? What do you need? Do we need to back you off as a pitcher? Do you need an extra day as a hitter? Ohtani so far has said he feels great. In fact, he mentioned to reporters after the game last night he hopes that he's used more as a hitter. But that's going to have a lot to do with it. But there's no question that he has been awesome so far. And I think that the people who were the least surprised were the people in that camp, that they felt like, after seeing his talent in spring training, look, it's only a matter of time. This guy works it out. And there's no doubt about it. From the moment that they got that call, and Billy Epler, the general manager, tells a funny story about how he literally fell to the ground when he heard from Ohtani's agent that Ohtani was picking the team. It has energized this franchise. They went out and made other moves. They are coming for the Astros, and we're going to talk a lot this summer about the Red Sox and the Yankees. The best rivalry this summer, the best games, will be Angels and Astros because of all that Ohtani has brought.
Yeah, what he's brought, hitting .364 right now, 3 home runs, 8 RBIs. It really is amazing, and it's such a great storyline for baseball this year. And how much are Met fans getting built up for that storyline? Sitting there 10-1, the pitching is on right now, but I got to believe if you're a Met fan, you're still waiting for the shoe to drop somewhere, thinking this is too good to be true.
That's true. I think Murphy's Law always seems to apply to the Mets. There's always a dark cloud of injury. But I tell you what, being around the Mets over the weekend, we had them last week on Sunday Night Baseball. what a different culture Mickey Callaway has brought, their new manager. It's about accountability. It's about honesty, and they're having a lot of fun. And I'll give you a story that, the fact that, the specifics of it, I laughed at, but the fact that Mickey volunteered this story tells you so much about his self-assuredness. He has spent a lifetime in baseball as a pitcher and then a pitching coach. He had never managed before this spring. And so in his first weekend as manager, as he tells the story, they had a pitcher who got injured on the mound, Anthony Swarzak, and so he goes out there, and he's not used to the mechanics of managing. So they're standing on the mound. Swarzak gets determined that he's got to come out of the game, and Mickey says that, and Dave Island, his pitching coach, is standing there. He said, "Yeah, you're the manager. You need to signal for him." So then he waves to the bullpen, and then he realizes that he's going to make a double switch, except he forgot to bring the lineup card with him because he hasn't managed before. So he turns to the umpire and is like, "Hey, can I look at your lineup card for a second to determine how I'm going to do this?" And then after they do that, Dave Island, the pitching coach, the athletic trainer, start to walk off. Mickey starts to walk off as well, and Dave is like, "Yeah, you got to give the ball to your pitcher because you're the manager now." "Oh yeah, that's right. I got to stay here. I'm the manager."
Wow.
and so Mickey is laughing as he tells us this story. And again, the fact that he volunteered, it tells you about his level of self-confidence and his personality.
It's a great story, especially when you're 10-1. If you're 3-8, it's not such a great story anymore. But they got it going on right now. And speaking of 10-1 in records, so we're looking at like 11 games, 12 games. Buster, when will you look at the standings and care and really, really say, okay, this is what the teams have?
Oof. I guess because I'm, a prisoner of the moment, I'm already doing that. Like I'm looking at the Angels after having some expectations for them this year and said, okay, they are what we thought they are. I'm looking at the Mets start and thinking, okay, that start really demonstrates that this is a team that has real potential, especially I think Michael Conforto coming back from a devastating shoulder injury last year, and he looks great so far this year. That's a good sign. And I'm also looking at the Dodgers, like the National League champions of last year. They look like they've got some World Series hangover, some physical hangover with, velocity being down for Clayton Kershaw, Kenley Jansen, and they desperately miss Justin Turner, who got hurt at the end of spring training when he's hit by a pitch, suffered a broken bone. Their offenses look sluggish, and out there in the West, the Diamondbacks look like they're a really good team again. The Dodgers are losing ground early. It'll be interesting to see if they dig themselves out.
Buster, what's the thing that's really surprised you the most so far this season?
Oh, boy. Well, a lot of it's weather-related. I was thinking, we always talk with all those fights yesterday because you had the Yankees, the Red Sox, you had the Rockies and the Padres get into a dust-up. The Rangers and the Angels exchanged some hit-by pitches yesterday, and it wound up with Elvis Andrus, their shortstop, suffering a broken elbow. It felt like it was like the polar bear days of April versus the dog days of August, right? Where the players, they have clearly been affected by the cold temperatures at the start of this season. And we're seeing, I think the Indians, Golic, your Indians have a team batting average of about 160,
Horrible.
And they have a winning record.
Great.
Which is an indication of where we are with baseball early this season.
It is. I looked at I saw the note about their averages. I was like, are you kidding me? And they still have a winning record? I mean, this is ridiculous.
It's fantastic stuff. Hey, Buster, thanks for the time. We appreciate you coming on. Buster Olney, ESPN Major League Baseball Insider, joined us on the show, Pennzoil Performance Line. Check out the Baseball Tonight podcast with Buster. Weekdays, listen on ESPN app and Apple Podcast. Thanks, Buster.
We talk about this, and because he mentioned another batter getting hit and getting a busted. He got hit, broken elbow, get hit, busted hand, busted finger. But we always bring this up. To you guys, there's no debate. You would rather get hit by a baseball than a puck?
Oh, all day.
Slap shot over a fastball?
100%.
I guess depending on where you get hit, but still.
Yeah, no, I mean, people would say that in hockey because we see these guys sell out all the time where you're sliding in front of it.
They drop down in front of the slap shot? They're nuts.
Well, it's because, and you think, all right, you've got all this padding on. That certainly helps, but you've seen enough guys take pucks directly to the face. There's enough toothless smiles in the NHL to remind you that you can get hit in a lot of soft spots. They're going to remind you of that later on.
I think it's the toothless part of it that's really intimidating to me. Like, hockey players, just none of them have their teeth. And I'm looking at it thinking, there must be something to that. How much padding would you have to wear? Like, just in general, how much to let somebody shoot at you?
How about when the guys didn't wear helmets? Didn't have the shield? I mean, go way back when. I mean, it's somewhat ridiculous. But also in baseball, how about going to the batter's box knowing you're going to get hit. You know, there's one thing when a pitch just gets in on you, you're not in a situation where you think you're going to get hit and you get hit. You know, okay, but walking in there, getting from the dugout to the batters, you know, the on deck circle to the batter's box going, I know I'm going to get hit. It's just a matter of where I'm going to get hit.
It's almost like when you hear people talk about a car accident where they say your body, because it's so loose, actually finds a way to be a little bit less injured when you're not expecting it, as opposed to if you see it coming and all of a sudden tense up because you're putting your body in a position. You're going over to the batter's box, you tense up, all of a sudden you lower that, and maybe you're getting hit a little higher as opposed to just in the meat of the back like we saw last night.
I think as we watched the replay of the brawl, I figured out where they went wrong. If I'm ever in this situation, you know, what I do is I walk.
If you're ever in a Major League Baseball
Right. Fair. I walk more intently, and I take more time. I let my entrance to the fight take more time, because when you've got Stanton and Judge backing you up, you need to make it, okay, it's clear he's walking out to the mound, but you also need to give them time to get out there and fight your fight for you. You see, like, so you can't run out to the mound because they're coming for so much farther. You have to intentionally walk, point, and trash talk the entire way.
That's coming from a 5'9" guy. Get it. Mike,
5'9.5", thank you.
Sorry. Let's talk you and I, because we're bigger. There's an expectation that we need to get involved. So now you're the pitcher. You smoke somebody, and they're coming at you. What's your move?
I see. This is always, I apply the same logic as you would in running back pass protection, which you got to eat up grass. If you let him build up a head of steam coming towards you, you're only hurting yourself. You go and eat grass and you meet him halfway there. You've got to assert your dominance, because like you see in baseball all the time, no one really wants to fight. So you've just got to be the one psycho that's willing to go a little bit beyond. That would be my advice, is you eat up grass and you meet him there.
I think what I would do is I would eat up some grass, but then I would slow down, let him charge and think he's charging at me. And right at the last second, I got to show patience, got to really show patience, sidestep, let his momentum take me past, do a little wrestling move like a duck under, get behind him, and then slam him.
I knew this is coming back to wrestling with you. It's all leverage.
Yeah. Hey everyone, Mike Golic here. Support for the Golic Wingo podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Winning at sports and at sports broadcasting means changing things up.
Just like La Quinta Inns and Suites is changing up their look.
A renovated lobby that's so contemporary it even makes Golic look cool.
Yes, it does. And a totally updated fitness center that even has Wingo feeling like a workout.
I'm ripped. Plus plenty of comfortable spaces to hang out.
Yep, this La Quinta look definitely has a vibe of victory.
So you can just relax, refresh, and get ready for your next big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
Yeah, so the Pittsburgh Penguins versus the Philadelphia Flyers. As a Flyers fan, we can recap Modern Family. There was a new episode for that. It was pretty good. The movie channel has Miracle. I think that's a really good movie. And it's about hockey, so that's kind of cool. And, yeah.
Wow.
More amazing hockey analysis. You guys can hop on that train. 860-506-5505. That's the number if you want to leave us the Stanley Cup playoff. Voicemail, 860-506-5505. I'll challenge all Preds fans out there. Let's just load the whole thing up with it.
Giving you other viewing options other than Pittsburgh and the Flyers. Penguins winning 7-0, as Jason just said, in SportsCenter. They played 5 times in the regular season. Pittsburgh beat them all 5 times and scored 27 goals. So it has not been very competitive at all.
No, it's Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Mike Golic Jr. I'm Jason Fitz in for Trey. You know, Mike and I actually were talking a little bit about this last night as we watched that go down. Like, there's just a point in a game like that where you just say, hey, we're going to live to see another day. I mean, when you blink and suddenly you're down 5-0 at that point in the second period, it's like, I don't even know how you process through that.
It's what we were talking about last night because you've been a part of plenty of games, as have I, where you're just getting blown out. You recognize very quickly. And Fitz asked me an interesting question. How do you go out there and continue to, what do you keep playing for? And I said the answer is simple: self-preservation, especially in sports like football and hockey.
Absolutely right. I was thinking when you were mentioning it, I was going through my head. That's exactly. It's twofold. Number one, there's a pride factor of just the fact that in our sport of football, you're going up against somebody, especially in our positions, one-on-one every single play. So there's a pride factor of can you beat that guy? And then there's the reality factor of also every play is on film. And no matter win, lose, or draw, you're going to watch that film as a group with your coach. You're going to get graded on it, but more importantly, your peers are going to see that. So there is an awful lot of self-preservation is the perfect word. Pride is a great word of just competitiveness of saying, okay, the whole game is over, the war is over, but my battles, man, they still have to go every single time full bore or I'm going to get embarrassed.
We'll see where that pride comes in the next game in that series for sure, because Philly's got to do something different. Time for a little fun with Over Under.
Over, under, with Golic and Wingo.
Over and Under brought to you by Grasshopper, the entrepreneur's phone system. Run your business from your mobile phone. See how it works at grasshopper.com. So you know how this works. We're going to get we're going to get some things. Brett's going to read us some items. We'll decide where we are on over or under.
What a shocker. Brett is going to be on air reading it. Mike, who do you think idea was that?
I have to imagine it's a pretty strong sell in the meeting here.
Yeah, by Brett.
Nicely done, Brett.
That was Allie's idea.
Based off the success of things like Brettomology comes Brett reading more on air.
Thank you for your kind promo.
Yeah.
All right, first one. Over under 3 games the Warriors lose in the playoffs. They lost 1 last year.
I think it'll be over that. I think, in the first round, do I see a sweep? I don't know. Steph's out. They're certainly not playing at their best right now. Could the Spurs actually steal a game or two from them, which would set them up for obviously more rounds to go through and losing more? And obviously, if they were to lose a series and be out of the playoffs, they would lose 4 games as well. But I still think they have a great shot to make it to the finals. But I do think I'll go over that. I think they lose more than 3 games.
I'm going to go well over this, too. You look back, 2015-16, they lost 9 games in that postseason. The year before, they lost 5. So last year was really the blip on the radar in all this, where you had a team that was healthy, that had added Kevin Durant, and was about as dominant as we've seen.
Yeah, I'm going to go over also, but a lot of that comes down to Portland, because they're going to get Portland in the second round. The Blazers are a better team than people want to give them credit for because not a lot of people have paid attention. Portland can steal a couple of games from them. So at that point, when you look at Houston, who I think obviously, Houston's the favorite in that series, I'm looking at least 4 or 5 losses out of this process. So I'll go over.
All right. Over under 1 lower seeded team to win in the first round. We have not had full seed chalk since 2008.
All right, so obviously the one place you go is just like in the NCAA tournament, 8-9, where 9 is still considered obviously an upset. So you look at the 4-5s. I still see the Cavaliers beating the Pacers, and it's the Thunder against the Jazz. That is an interesting one there, without question. But I'll tell you the one I kind of look at. But the Bucks and the Celtics.
That was the first place I went.
No Kyrie. I think the Bucks could have a good shot in this one. So I'm just for the few that I mentioned there, I'm going to go over on that as far as lower seeds winning in the first round. I'm going to go over and think you might get a couple.
Yeah, I'm also going to go over in that Bucks series. Giannis has been incredible this year, averaging about 33 points a game against the Celtics. He crushes there. That's a good matchup there. Utah's been better than anybody expected. OKC's been inconsistent. You'll get a steal somewhere out of this too. If I buy the argument, and I do, that there's more parity than ever in the NBA right now, aside from how much we talk about super teams, I still think that you could see a lot of these series go either way.
And down the stretch in the Eastern Conference, I know a lot of this seems germane to this particular matchup. We know the history of it by now, but this Miami team has got some older pieces. It's got a champion in Dwayne Wade leading the charge, going up against that young 76ers squad.
No, the 76ers going to the championship, Mike. Didn't you know
right.
that?
My bad.
Narrative. Forget that?
Hey, we haven't made our picks yet. We still have time. By the way, Brett Brown, 76ers head coach, going to join us at 8:30. You like that shameless plug?
All right. Over under 0.5 games that actually matter until the Warriors play the Rockets.
I'll go way over.
Oh, I'll go way over that as well.
I go way over on that. I think that the NBA playoffs this year are the most interesting they have been in years. And that's what I'll go back to last summer when we spent the summer just constantly saying, look, the NBA, we've got all this player movement. It's going to mean something. It has. The regular season has been interesting throughout the course of the year. It's been compelling to watch every night and see different matchups. I am stoked to watch the Boston Bucks series. I'm stoked to watch the Philly Heat series, although I think Philly's going to win. There's a lot of exciting basketball.
You know what? I'll go under. Because we can be excited for things that don't matter. We do it in the NBA regular season all the time. Christmas Day, I get excited all the time. Those games aren't really going to resonate through the ether. I mean, hell, look at the Cleveland Cavaliers team that played then and tell me what resemblance they have outside of LeBron James to the team now. We're talking about games that matter. We have been looking at these two teams all year. These two clash of the Titans, the Golden State Warriors on top of the world, and the Houston Rockets, who Daryl Morey said were constructed to beat them. That is the only matchup that matters until we get to the finals.
You've lost your mind.
Boy, I don't know. I mean, I look at something in the East, the 76ers in the second round. Whoever they're going to play, things that are going to matter.
They can be exciting, but we're talking about I'm thinking about what matters for the league, and the Warriors being knocked off by somebody matters to the league. You can maybe argue, but I will even say LeBron James losing before the finals doesn't really matter a ton to me.
Well, let me ask you this. From the league standpoint, would you rather see LeBron and the Cavs make it all the way? The only one can make it, either Cleveland or Golden State.
I would rather have Cleveland make it.
Oh, I think everybody would rather have LeBron in the finals.
If I'm the league, I would rather have LeBron in the finals because it sets you up for the easiest way to take maximum expectation and maximum interest in him then and push it right to the offseason when he leaves.
I completely disagree. First of all, I'd rather see Golden State in the final than LeBron in the final.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. I enjoy watching Golden State play basketball. Plus, if LeBron's not in, then it at least gives us the perception that the East is wide open, and it fuels the entire summer of where's LeBron going to go. If LeBron goes to the finals, then it's going to fuel the LeBron stays in Cleveland. If he just gets knocked out in the second round, all of a sudden by, let's say, a 76ers team, not in the second round, let's say the 76ers find themselves in the final, you want to tell me that that's not good for the NBA, the perception that a young team can take the next step, and then that young team could add some pieces? I think that's good for the NBA long term.
By the way, you know where I'm from? Cleveland.
Yeah.
I want Cleveland in the final. Put it up on the poll, Allie. Put it up there. Let's get it. If only one of the two can make it, you'd rather see Golden State in the finals or Cleveland in the finals. You're going Golden State,
I'm going Golden State all day.
I think you're going to be way in the minority.
Oh yeah, no. This is going to be a joke. It's maybe the most lopsided poll in history.
You would rather see LeBron in the finals with a bunch of nobodies.
Yes.
LeBron, Kevin Love.
Then know that someone could beat the Warriors along the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
I still think
LeBron, the best player in the world.
Yeah, but okay, you have one best player.
For LeBron.
Yeah.
Oh,
LeBron
my God.
TV.
LeBron. You'd rather see LeBron than see Durant and Steph together.
Yes.
You'd rather have
LeBron.
LeBron.
You
The king.
have lost your mind.
King James.
You've lost your mind.
Chosen one.
All right.
Yeah.
Over under final one. 0.5 new teams in the NBA Finals. Basically, will we have another Warriors-Cavs?
Ooh. So this is the other side. This is asking you to put your money where your mouth is on that question. Do you actually believe it's possible?
I still think Cleveland's making it to the finals. Listen, I love the Philly story. Hell, I spent most of my career there, and I love Philly. And I think the 76ers are so on the rise. And when I forgot who it was brought up the fact that LeBron should go to Philly, before if he's going to leave Cleveland, to think about what would happen there, that really kind of blew my mind. But I love what Philly's doing, but not just yet. Not just yet. I think Cleveland still makes it to the finals. And if all goes as expected, and Steph's back by the second round, and everybody's healthy, the ribs of KD, the thumb of Clay, the little Warriors for Draymond Green, where he got kicked in them. If everybody's all healthy and everything, I'm still going to take Golden State in a 7-game series. So I'm going to say under and still say for the fourth year in a row, it's the Cavs and Golden State.
Give me part 4 only because all the things you mentioned sound like the evil ingredients to the witch doctor potion that gives you to him. Ribs of KD, thumb of Clay, knee of Steph.
And Little Warriors of Draymond.
And Little Warriors of Draymond.
Yeah, I'm going over because the Cavs aren't making the finals. So, sorry.
Well, you are all in on that, aren't you?
You know what? I drew a line in the sand a couple months ago, and I'm keeping that line.
All right, well, you're being consistent.
I'm keeping that line.
Consistently wrong, but consistent.
We all went back and forth all dang year. Every time they win 2 games, 3 games, or they lose 2 or 3, we overreacted.
Yeah.
And so I said 2 months ago, it's time to just draw the line in the sand. I'm drawn in. I'm dug in. I'm like a stubborn married man at this point. I'm just making my point.
Do you think Golden State think? Do you think Philly makes it in the East? Are you picking them?
It's too early to tell. It's too early to tell.
Here's a little insider travel secret. There are tons of empty hotel rooms out there just waiting to be booked. That's why there's Hotel Tonight. Hotel Tonight partners with awesome hotels to help them fill their unsold rooms, which means you get incredible deals. And even though the name's Hotel Tonight, you can actually book up to a week in advance and up to 100 days in advance in top destinations. So download the Hotel Tonight app to start scoring better deals at better hotels now.
Jason Fitz in for Trey, sitting here with both Golics. It's Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. Russell Westbrook did the impossible last night, again, in averaging a triple-double. For the second consecutive year, he needed 16 boards. He got it in a little over half, essentially. He basically went out, and you could tell that was his objective, right? That was what was going to happen. In fact, I think the lowest point total of the year for him. And not surprisingly, because you can't get rebounds if you shoot.
He was at 6 points, I think. It was 20 rebounds, and 19 assists.
Yeah, so basically, he's throwing the ball out, and then he's getting down to get the rebound.
Right,
so he was a determined man to get the stat. And I think the junior has made a good point today when he says that maybe in recency won't appreciate this enough. I still feel like because last year the whole debate was, well, he's averaging a triple-double, but is that really worth an MVP? I think we sort of lessen the impact of it. So while we see it, the other side of it is OKC hasn't been all that great. I mean, if I'm an OKC fan right now, I'm looking at it and saying, my God, what does it take? I mean, because they put pieces around Russell. This was supposed to be a step forward. It isn't. So you have a guy having a fantastic year, and the team's still only okay.
Well, I'll say this. They're seated higher than last year. They had more wins than last year. I would ask the question, is the triple-double average this year more impressive than last year? Because he has a guy like Paul George. Again, he averaged 25, George 22. Last year he averaged 30. The next leading scorer was Oladipo at 15. So he had nobody else out there. And so he's doing everything by himself. Was this year's triple-double actually more impressive than last year's triple-double?
I think so, just because last year we were under this guise that he needed to force everything. Now, this year, there was a bit of a difficulty at the beginning of the season. We remember where Paul George and company said, we need Russ to still go out there and kind of be that guy. I think Carmelo even said it. We'll work around him. He's still going to be the guy around here. I think there's parts of it, obviously, in the assist side, when you've got more weapons, it makes it easier to dole it out with a bit more confidence, and you saw the points per game drop off. But I would absolutely, and to do it this second season, understanding, that maybe you do naturally take that breath once you get more help for it to still be such a natural part of his game.
So I would ask you then, Fitz, go back to last year, because I don't know how you were through it. How impressed were you with what he was doing last year in talking about it? And now he did the same thing this year. Are you as impressed?
No, I'm not as impressed. But I think that's because that's natural human nature. We get used to it. Like, we'll use Brady or LeBron as the example. You start to look at what they do, and while we say, oh my God, look at how impressive this is, LeBron at his age doing this, it's really cool. It doesn't impact the same way. It can't impact the same way. When you've seen it so recently, I don't think it can have the same level of impact. And I think all of that's marred from the fact that Houston brought their big three together, and it's been so great. And OKC, not on Russell Westbrook, I think more on Carmelo Anthony, who's been particularly dreadful the back third of the season. They just haven't delivered. So now you're looking at it and saying, well, maybe it isn't as meaningful because they aren't some epic team coming in, even though he's doing great things.
And that's why I think history is going to be kinder to this moment, because we're overstimulated. We're overstimulated in almost every sense of life, but definitely in the NBA, so we might lose sight of this. But how long was this the synonym for Oscar Robertson? Where we said, man, that guy averaged a triple-double for a season. This is amazing. 20 years from now, we're going to look back and say, Russ did it 2 seasons in a row. And we're not going to remember the team that may have lost, like the Houston Rockets might in the title this year, or necessarily MVPs, because we give one of those out every year. We'll remember the guy that did something that no one else has ever done.
It's a fair point. Let's get to more important things. Obviously.
Yes, absolutely.
It's National Grilled Cheese Day.
Yeah, it is.
And I just found this out.
It's National Grilled Cheese Day, people.
Make it nasty.
There's a place in Nashville called the Grilled Cheesery. It started as a food truck, and now they've got a couple brick and mortar locations, and they just make swanky grilled cheese all the time. And it's sort of my great indulgence.
Are you a regular Do you put anything
I don't
else?
need anything.
You just want the grilled cheese.
I just want grilled cheese. Don't like some Allie earlier said, bacon on the grilled cheese.
Well,
that's
there's bacon. There's a tomato.
I don't need any of that.
There's ham.
No,
how about you? Anything on it with you?
When you put ham on it, for me, it ceases to become a grilled cheese. Then it becomes a ham sandwich.
Ham sandwich.
Once you put a meat there, then it kind of skews it. Now,
why is bacon not a meat?
Well, bacon's
not a primary meat to a sandwich.
It's like a meat garnish.
Unless you go BLT, I guess it could be. Yeah.
See?
I guess there are ways around it,
I saw alternate breads get thrown in because you can do different types. Garlic bread grilled cheese.
Ooh. That sounds
You just don't make out sessions after that.
No, you're going to be a little toxic. Justin Craig, our boss here, had the audacity to come in and ask and posit that grilled cheese might be overrated.
And he was immediately kicked out. He was immediately told to leave the room.
I'll take the opposite side. Grilled cheese is underrated.
I could eat grilled cheese every day. Now, I have said the old question of if you could only eat one food every day, what would it be? For me, it'd be a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But I could easily go grilled cheese.
Jelly? Like peanut butter and peanut butter, apple butter, maybe? But peanut butter and jelly.
Apple butter?
Wait, excuse me? You're saying something about the peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
No, sir, I am not. No.
Okay,
we'll go.
Your name's on the show.
We'll go bury you next to Justin right now. But
right.
The grilled cheese overrated. We need to put that on the company email chain and see what people think.
Can we do that now? Just restart it for anybody that didn't see
We doing
yesterday.
this again?
That's hundreds of emails.
Awesome.
Coming up, Adam Schefter was on those emails. He'll join us next to discuss the latest with Odell Beckham Jr. on Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News.
Next, you're holding up the line, ma'am.
What did you say?
You're next in line for the water slide, ma'am. Feet forward and enjoy the ride.
Okay, dearie. This does look fun. Whee! You melted me. I've melted.
The Wicked Witch of the West on a water slide? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
See what you've done. Oh!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15%.